Welcome back, family. Welcome back to another episode of Squad's Night In. In this case, we're in the daytime. I'm here with Kahil and Joshua. And Joshua has a interesting fact with us today.
Yo, what's poppin', everybody? So our fact of today is that snakes can be used to detect or actually predict earthquakes, which I thought was pretty dope.
Fascinating.
Yeah, you know. And this week we may or may not have the video camera. If we do, you know, that's a huge step up in production quality.
Right.
You know, we already redid the whole channel and stuff like that, so we're trying to make a lot of good quality for you guys. But as we move on, we'll probably start live streaming maybe in the next few weeks, and that'll also be a little interesting too. So make sure you stay tuned and hit that notification bell for those updates, and we're gonna get right into the scheduled program for today. So Jamie, start us off.
Today we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence and success. Our first topic about artificial intelligence contains two parts. One in the sense of efficiency and electronics, such as video games and computers. And the other one we will talk about is artificial intelligence in the case of robots in our house and replacing us in everyday jobs and things like that. So, Kahil, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts are probably just about the same as, you know, anybody when it comes to artificial intelligence. I really do think, for the first part at least, when it comes to electronics and video games like AI, NPCs, non-player characters, advancements in AI is always good for that. Yeah. I truly believe. And because I think when we're playing our video games and we're not playing online, we're just playing against those AI, we always wish for better AI. Mm-hmm. I'm a big racer. You know, I'm a big fan of like the racing games, and racing games can be made or ruined by AI, and it just kind of depends on whether the AI are good or whether they're bad. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, in that sense, the further we push, the better we get at, you know, developing AI in that sense. It's a good thing. It could only be a good thing.
Yeah,
you know?
Definitely.
Yeah, I definitely think it is good in some cases, but there are other cases where I feel that if we push too hard, it might start to displace a lot of people. Like, I know already we have kind of this push for more technology in places like works, because, you know, I guess even at places like Walmart, you know, they've pretty much cycled out like all the cashiers, and they just have like the self-service lane now. Mm-hmm. So I feel like the better AI we get, like a lot of these service jobs will just be obsolete. So then you have people who are struggling to find work because all of the jobs that were, you know, usually meant for the young people to get, you know, their starter jobs, there won't be any.
Right.
Because there'll be, you know, fairly little opportunities for those types of things. And also, there's the fact that shit, I forgot what I was saying. God damn, this happens all the time. Shit, what was I gonna say? Whatever. But yeah, it'll displace a lot of people, and I think the better it gets, the more problems are gonna arise potentially, and things like that. You know, it'll definitely be a good thing for the economy, I think. Because, you know, for economics' sake, you know, when you take out that, you know, production cost of the people, because what people, you know, some people don't realize is that, you know, in economics, they're a cost, they're not a benefit.
Exactly.
So the more people you have in a business, it essentially hurts you, because when you think about it, one person you're paying, you know, $20,000 to $40,000 a year at one of those, you know, generic jobs. So
exactly.
I mean, it really, so in one way it might reduce cost overall for the general public, but in terms of like jobs and stuff, what are you going to do? Because some people really rely on these, you know, starter jobs, and you can't get experience if you can't find a job and things like that. Oh, and this is what I'm going to say. It also forces people to have to go into this like technology field. Because I know there's that push right now.
Exactly.
That you basically you have to go in like STEM and technology and things like that, because that's pretty much going to be the only jobs is developing these AI. So if you don't have those skills to develop, the AI and programming and things like that, then I mean, again, there's not going to be many jobs for you. So
right.
I think that's definitely interesting.
It's like the two sides of the same coin, and that's kind of what I was getting at. Where, notice how I only said for video games.
Yeah.
It's for video games, for things like simulations and things like that, AI, amazing.
Yeah.
But that there's the actual real world implications. Not that they're always equated, and not that advancements in video game technology for AI is necessarily an advancement for AI in everyday life. But when you start having AI doing jobs that people normally do, you're absolutely right. That's when you have to kind of change your major in college, and all of these tasks that a lot of people are used to doing. You talk to your grandparents and your family, and they say, I used to work in the factory, doing all these things. Even now, jobs in the factory, I mean, a lot of them are cut just because there's robots, that are doing that job. And when you own this business, when you are the CEO of this business, you're better off because you don't have to pay many people to do a job that this one robot can do. You only have to pay the guy to come fix it when it breaks.
You don't have to deal with
exactly
people problems.
Exactly. When you have employees, at a lot of places, you're not only just paying them salary. There's benefits that you give them to ensure that they are healthy and that they can keep working, and all of these different things, and that also adds to the cost factor. But back to what I was saying, you're just paying that one guy to fix the machine when, if is a better question, if it ever malfunctions. The problem is when AI starts getting better and better, and robots and technology gets better and better and better, where does it start to fail? When we're trying to make improvements in efficiency, you are making that robot more reliable, that technology more reliable, and soon you're rarely paying that guy who's coming to fix it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's also another one where it's kind of like two sides of the same coin, because as the person that's running the finances of the building, the company, that's a good thing. But for the people who need the work, not so much.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts, Jamie?
Yeah.
I'm all for better video games. I'm all for a better gaming experience, but Kahil and Josh know I have a big axe to grind with the Sophia robot.
Oh yes, yeah.
For those of you who don't know about Sophia is artificial intelligence robot, right? But she's just not any kind of she's very advanced to the point where she has a citizenship with Saudi Arabia,
right?
And she has a job.
I didn't know that.
She does. She does. It's hilarious.
That's dope.
She has a high level internship at a high tech company, and she can communicate and really challenge you on her thoughts. Honestly, the scary thing to me is that Sophia, I think, maybe not in terms of experience of life, but in terms of knowledge, Sophia is smarter than any 20 people in the same room, I think.
Exactly.
Because she can just look anything up.
Exactly.
And
she has access to the entire internet.
The more time she spends with us, and this internship thing, I think she's doing that to see how we behave. I don't know.
You think she's that sentient already, though?
She wants kids. She literally wants a family. I think she's suing right now to get a family.
That's insane.
Yo, that's wild.
That's where it's kind of crazy, and it begs the question, do we want this You're right. Do we want this AI that we build to learn and to think on its own? Mm-hmm. Do we want to advance that to the point where it ceases to need humans at all? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's terrifying, because I think the one of our major flaws as a species is sometimes we just don't know when to stop. The saying, stop while you're ahead. Sometimes we just don't know when to stop. And so what happens is, And you can call me crazy for believing this, but what happens is these robots start thinking for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need humans. So why do we allow them to continue to exist?
Yeah.
A robot, when they start having beliefs. I mean,
Yeah. Sophia has beliefs.
when they start having beliefs and they think, man, well, climate change is real and humans are the cause of it, so we need to eradicate them. Like, that's a bit extreme, but you know what I mean? Like, when you start building them to sort of think on their own and have their own beliefs, I mean, how do you stop them when things go wrong?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like already we're kind of seeing this phase out of human thought in like the general public for the reason, like with smartphones. And like most people in developed nations, they all have the smartphones. And back in ancient times, if you wanted to learn something or do something, you had to study for years and years and years. You had to go and look up these ancient stuff like that. But we basically just with like a quick Google search, we can learn everything that has pretty much been discovered already.
Right.
And it's just this constant access of information. And it was a question I heard before is, have we already evolved as a species because of this technology? We basically like quadrupled our knowledge or our knowledge base, and we're able to think outside of our own realms because of things like Google and Siri and things like that, and things like like we have automatic calendars that remind us of things and things like that. So we're technically enhancing already our thinking capabilities.
Right, and this is actually funny because it reminds me because it takes me back to taking Calc 2 over the summer, and my professor goes, you're taking this class because you're really learning how to think, because the ability to calculate is already challenged by AI. You don't need to be able to calculate. But, and he says, soon, even the ability to think will go, will not be unchallenged, because there's going to be AI that can think about all the problems for specific companies. You don't need engineers. You don't need all of these things. Once the AI starts to be able to think and be able to set up problems, I mean, you're doomed, right? Because now the ability to think, which is the one thing that we feel that we have over a lot of the species on the planet, is just to be able to think and to be able to rapidly evolve our mindset and to be able to learn as quickly as we do. And it is true, humans are curious, and we're actually able to learn so much. And it also goes back to what you were saying, have we evolved because of the technology? And I think it's very true. I think the answer is overwhelmingly yes. All of the information, yes, is at a Google search. You don't need a plumber to come to your house and fix something, because
you can just
you can go on YouTube and just figure out how to do it yourself. And that's a lot cheaper than hiring a plumber. Now, we don't think about what could go wrong when we're not professionals at this, but like, does it really matter for short-term gain? You know what I mean? It's a short-term fix to a problem that maybe needs to be fixed by a professional. We don't care. We'd rather fix it ourselves now, because I can go on YouTube and I could look up how to fix this. I could look up how to replace this on my car. I don't need to go to a mechanic. The problem only arises when things go wrong.
Yeah, when the smoke starts coming out of
right.
it. Like, you know what?Maybe I do need to call the
mechanic.
Right.
You open the hood and you're just like, I have no idea what I'm looking at.
Right. And sometimes with that mindset, of I can just look this up, we do make the problems worse, but we don't see it that way. Because I think humans a lot, we don't really we don't seek long-term solutions. I think we really seek the short-term solutions, things that can get the problem fixed right away.
Yeah, and I think that's a main driving force for this AI.
Well,
it's a good short-term fix for a lot of the problems we have, but long-term, it's like that Wall-E movie. Everybody basically, they don't have a job. They just kind of sit around and let everything else do, and that's basically what's going to happen. There's probably going to be this, this small minority of people that actually have jobs, to do. And it's probably going to be like, politics, things like that. And everybody else is just going to be able to, just like do stuff, just enjoy life. And when you think about it that way, is it really such a bad thing that, you know, we get all of this,
Mm-hmm.
you know, free
Right.
time and we actually get to enjoy life rather than constantly having to work until the day we die?
My only thing with that is like how long until AI is just tired of us using them.
Yeah, how long
like,
is it until they stop seeing it as I'm doing this work for my own benefit? Like,
Yeah.
we only work because it provides a benefit.
Mhm.
It provides a way for us to pay for things. When does the AI say, well, what benefit do I get out of this?
Yeah, because if you think about it, like in the long run, we're probably going to be oppressing AI.
Exactly.
And what happens to anything that's oppressed? It
Yeah.
revolts.
It rebels.
Yeah.
But you know, I was gonna say, like, who would have thought that, you know, you could look at this movie, this animated movie, and see actually some really well structured social commentary, like this outlook on the future, where it's like, maybe it's just a movie, but like maybe it's not. Maybe this is what would happen if we had, you know, AI doing everything for us.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild.
Is that brings us to our next topic? I think is a future like that successful? And so would we define a future like that to be a success for the human race? But to answer that question, you have to define what success is anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough to say if it's successful or not, because I mean, depending on the person, because I know some people, I think it ultimately goes down to the fact that we have to be able to get rid of some of the systems we have now that kind of, oh no, there goes Max. Don't! Shit.
It's okay.
Well, it kind of depends on if we go to, I guess, again change some of these systems that value everything with money. Because when you think about it, you know, at its most basic form, money is just, you know, a shared, you know, value that we all attribute to things. And I feel like in order to get rid of jobs through AI, we have to also get rid of, you know, this currency. Because if we still have AI doing all of our jobs and we still have some sort of currency, then I feel like it's overall going to be a failure. Because the majority of the population is going to be in poverty because they, you know, they can't get jobs. And there's going to be this minority again that have these, you know, jobs, and they have them in lock, and it'll probably be, you know, people like us who are at that time will be in like the later older generation, and we have, you know, those jobs on lock, and it's going to be what's like happening with us now, how you know, there's everybody, all of the pretty much permanent jobs are with the older generation, and now it's basically part-time. So I feel like we're going to get to a point where there's not going to be any jobs for anybody, and if there's still the same value of currency as we have now, the world's probably going to be in a lot of trouble.
You're right. So let's revisit that after we define what success is, because I think you could frame anything in any sort of way, you know, as long as you have this definition for success, right? I think if you saw it as, well, and without looking at the implications of having AI, and you say, well, we don't have to work, we can enjoy life, kind of like what you said earlier. I mean, is that a success? You know, I think there's different aspects of it that would be a success, and there would be different aspects of it that would be a failure. So overall, it's hard to say.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It ultimately depends on the person, because in certain, I guess, when you think about it in like academically, like for example, an artist, they might consider success, you know, something like psychological or something. Like if they made a painting and it moved somebody, you know, they might use up all the materials in the world to make this painting, and it might not have been very cost effective, and everybody else might see it as like a waste, but to them it could be a success because, you know, it moved them or it moved somebody else. But when you think of it, you know, in terms of like sheer numbers and efficiency, it's not really a success. So I mean, it ultimately depends, and I think ultimately it's going to turn out into an economic success. And I think economically it is successful because it improves efficiency and it like decreases overall cost and things like that.
Okay.
It'll increase profit, but you know, socially, I don't think it'll be a success.
Okay, so I will ask this question again.
Yes,
What
okay. That's what I'm saying.
I'm not.
You
But I'm not.
can't
I'm not
really-
asking in the context of the question with AI. I'm asking. I do get that it depends on the person you ask, and that's why I'm asking you guys, what is success? Not in context of the AI, but to you, what is success?
Well, I'd say success definitely varies from person to person.
Right.
I'm
It's gonna be
a
the same.
person.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm a
It's-
person that would, a successful time is something that makes me happy, or
Right.
something that I feel like I achieved a goal. Like
Right.
hanging with you guys, doing this podcast. Like to me, this is a success
Right.
of time. To somebody else, it might be, playing with stocks and getting money.
Right.
Mhm.
But and so I feel like I don't know if I'm confusing you guys.
No,
I'm not asking.
I
not
think
sure.
for a basic definition of success, we can say that success is...
I want to know what it means to you. I don't
To
care
me-
about what it means to anybody
me,
else.
it would
I'm
be-
talking to you two right now.
Yeah, to me, it would be fulfilling a predetermined goal. Let's say
Okay.
that's my definition.
And
of
so
success.
at the end of your life, I don't know if you have a life goal now, but at the end of your life, looking back on it, what would you call a success? We all have our own versions of it because we all don't want to do the same thing, right? Engineer,
Yeah.
vet, you want to do something with what, chemistry or something? I don't know.
No,
I'm sorry, environment.
Yeah.
You want to do something with the environment. And so,
I mean-
like, at the end of the day, we all have different visions for our life. And I do get that. So I don't expect our definitions of success to really be the same. And I don't expect, us looking back on our lives to, at the end of the day to say, well, I can't say whether your life was successful or not, right? Because I'm not you. So I want to know what you, like, at the end of your life, looking back on it, what would you call a success?
Honestly, if I could probably retire pretty early and be able to, I guess, contribute something, to the overall world. Like if I can contribute,
Like leave something behind,
leave something like not
like a
because
legacy?
I was reading this paper and it was about love. It was the Symposium by Plato, and one of the topics they brought up was the fact that there are two ways that humans can achieve immortality, and that's by reproducing and leaving something behind. And they said that leaving like a physical idea, things like that, are some of, or I guess it's more prevalent than necessarily reproducing. So I think honestly, if I could leave something, even if it's like a really well-known article or things like that, because
Right.
like Einstein in his relativity paper, it's something that generations to come
Right.
will be used.
So, I think immortality is kind of a flawed concept. I know that's like kind of like off of kind of what we're talking about, but I think that is interesting that they would say something like that, because I think immortality is kind of this flawed concept, because even if you do leave something behind, doesn't that die with the human race? I don't think we're going to be around forever.
It's like humans have this tendency to want to be immortal. But
Right.
that is like with our limitations, that's the closest thing we can get
okay.
to immortal, is by leaving
Leaving something, like-
leaving offspring, or leaving, something
Right.
physical.
Okay. And so, Jaime, to you, I mean, if you're on your deathbed, natural causes, you're not in, you're not going through anything crazy, but you're on your deathbed, looking back at your life, what would be a success for you?
As long as I had a happy life, and in that, I would definitely share Josh's view of leaving something behind in terms of, made my life's work. But I think if up until that point in my deathbed, if I was just doing what I loved, that's a success. Like, I'd rather be doing what I love and poor than working a company and rich.
I love that. I actually had a professor who, she was teaching me some sort of calc. I think it was business calc, applied calc. And, she was saying how she was working at Progressive, and she could have still been there, probably making six figures, not doing too bad for herself. But one day, she just up and took a road trip and quit, because that's not what she wanted to be doing. Now she's a professor, teaching and tutoring calc, and I think that's really cool, because she loves it. And to me, if I were to look back on my life, I'm on my deathbed, I think a success would be having a family and being able to take care of them and having a family that loved me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that I really need that satisfaction,
Yeah.
but I just think, you know, if you have these people that you meant the world to, I think you've already built this lasting impression, and I think, you know, I think that would be a success. But also, I share the same view. You know, if I could retire early, like you said, and just play tennis or something, biggest success of my life, because that's something I love.
Yeah.
I want to do something that I love to do. I don't have to be the richest guy in the world. I think a lot of people, for them, success is being wealthy, but it's obvious to us that like, I mean, we don't see it that way. You know, success is being happy. Success is doing what you love. And I think at the end of the day, if I could look back on my life, if I had a loving family, you know, that I loved with my entire heart, and they loved me, and I left, you know, a lasting impression on them, and I was able to do what I love to do instead of being tied down and just doing something that I absolutely hate, that would be a success.
And don't you think the biggest successes come from people doing what they love to do? You know, you think of like in terms of, you know, and you know, even through engineering, you know, the best engineers, they're probably very successful at it because they love it.
Right.
You know,
when you love something, you can dive into it. I really do think you can just completely immerse yourself into it. Whereas if you're doing something that you hate, where is the drive?
There's
where is the drive to
it goes away, right?
to, you know, want to discover something?
I mean, it's honestly, I think it's honestly a cultural and like generational like value judgment.
Yes.
Because depending on the culture, you know, some people, as you said, just being wealthy is, you know,
Successful.
they're successful and they feel they're successful, and you know, all their life they've been pushed to, you know, make money, and that could be what truly makes them happy. And you know, we always say that, you know, money never truly makes you happy, but you know, to some people it actually does. You know, that's just it. You know, who am I to say that, you know, you're a piece of shit because, you know, all you care about is money?
Right.
Because
none of us here actually believe that.
Yeah.
Though. All right.
It's like,
let's get kind of go. None of us actually believe that. I
we
agree.
support all of
I
our
know, I'm
fan
just
base.
saying.
Anybody who thinks that, you know, having a lot of money at the end of the day is successful, you are your opinion is valid.
And you'll probably have a lot of money.
Exactly, and that's your drive.
Yeah.
I really do think I didn't become a very successful math student until like I had a goal. You know, until I decided, you know what, if I get anything less than an A on this test, I've failed it.
Yeah.
And while I didn't actually fail it, it's a standard, and I think it was a standard and it was a goal. And I do think that we can attain success by having this goal. And that was really the reason I asked you guys that question. Because now we have this life goal. You know, it's not something that you always have to think about until it's like someone asks you that question. And now you have this life goal, and I think as long as you have that, you know, vision and sight, I mean, what's stopping you from achieving it?
I guess what I would ask you is, what does it take to reach major success? Because there's success and then there's really big success. So what does it take to be the best in the class? What does it take?
Drive. I mean, it's kind of like what I was just saying. I think it takes drive. I think it takes, you know, the want. You have to want something like that. Something like that has to be of significance to you. Success, major success being at the top of the class, that has to be what your vision of success is.
And it also requires lots of failure, right?
Yes, it really does. I truly believe that the biggest way we learn is through trial and error. I mean, that is one of the most fundamental kind of principles ever. That is the way I think humans learn most things, through trial and error. I think you, not in the sense of our life goals, because I think if we fail, we wouldn't think ourselves as successful. And there's no, you know, if you're looking back on it at the end of the day and you didn't achieve any of that, you don't, I mean, unless you believe otherwise, I don't think you get a second chance. You don't get another chance at that. But I think at that point you can kind of realign at what success was. Well, maybe I didn't have that family, you know, that I wanted. Maybe I didn't get to play tennis, you know, for the rest of my life. But I tried my best. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you get to realign but I think failure is necessary.
Yeah.
Because without failure, you can't define success.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like with college. Like in college, technically succeeding is you get your diploma.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what a lot of people don't realize about college is the fact that you have to put yourself out there and do other things other than the base material.
Mm-hmm.
It's like with high school. I basically did the bare minimum, and I passed.
Right.
I got valedictorian, but I got to college and I realized everybody around me is they're basically doing it all. Like they're in clubs, they're in sports. They go on internships and things like that, and they're taking classes that will enhance them in some way. And I feel like, as Jamie was saying, the difference between success and major success is major success. You actually, you do something worthwhile. That's not just cut and paste, and it's not like the basic definition of success. I think major success is something that you have to find for yourself, and it's not just something that someone else tells you.
Right.
So in the terms of college, success would just be getting your bachelor's degree. But major success would be, as I said, putting yourself out there, getting those internships, working with those professors, actually thinking about your future instead of just, going along with the curriculum and saying.
And that's what I was saying, where it kind of takes that drive. I initially joined math club because, I did enjoy math, and I enjoyed doing it, and I wanted to be better at it. And so I kind of just decided, I can go into this club, I can be a part of this club, and I can enhance my view on what it is. I can see these people who, to me, were like extremely successful. I mean, they're in Calc 2 and 3 and differential equations, all these higher level math classes, and I was just the college algebra student. Like they were like gods to me. Like in a sense, I'm like, holy cow, these guys like know more math than I could ever like dream of, at least at that moment in my life. And I think I was talking to you, Jaime, about it, and it's like being the president of the math club, like, and like I'm a Calc 3 student now.
Yeah.
Like looking back on it, I'm like probably one of those people, like I'm probably the person that the kid that's in college algebra looks up to. They probably think like, I'm insane. Mm-hmm. But I had to kind of have this drive that I wanted to enhance my view of math. I wanted to be better at it so that I could be the best possible engineer that I could be. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And not that I'm there yet, but I think you're absolutely right. I really do. And you have to put yourself out there. And I also think it's also about who you surround yourself with.
That's true.
You have to, that was also another reason for joining math club. You have to surround yourself with people who have this drive to go forward. Whether, even if that's in a different direction. If, like, I love you guys. You are my best friends. But if you guys decided that you wanted to do nothing with your life and that, that you didn't, that was success to you, while I would probably still be your friend, I mean, we probably wouldn't be hanging out all that much, because at that point you don't have a drive. And like I was saying, you don't have to be, the drive doesn't have to be in the same direction. Mm-hmm. We don't all want to be engineers. We don't all want to be vets. We don't all want to do something environmental. But the fact that we want to do something, and the fact that we are, going to college and we are immersing ourselves and we're trying to actually achieve these goals means that we're trying to push forward. And, we are trying to reach what we think is success.
And every time you do push forward, you invest in yourself. Like, I remember, there was a class project for the final, and it was basically a given A, but, like I did a presentation that was 10 minutes, but there was a lot of people that just went up there and they just put a YouTube video of like a company. So it was like, it was economics. So someone literally typed in YouTube, economics of Publix, enter, and there was a 1-minute video. They played the video and they got the A.
Right.
But and then I think of other classes I'm in, like math or chemistry. I'm like, would those people in the class do that?
Right.
They wouldn't.
Right.
They would, so, yeah, when you try, you become different. And
right.
You have to surround yourself with that.
You really do.
Well...
Wait. Before we sign off, I'm sorry. Before we sign off, I didn't really get to answer that question about, well, now that we've defined what success is for us, what does that mean with the whole AI? In the context that I've defined success, is it successful or not? There's probably many facets of it that would be successful. But to me, the problem is I'm completely indifferent to it.
I'd say the successful thing would, as the one end, continue AI and such as programs, but in the Sophia end, I'd say the success in that is just cutting it off.
Right, you've done what you sought out to do, and it kind of goes back to you got to stop while you're ahead.
Yeah, too much risk.
Right, there is too much risk. All right, Josh, what were you gonna say? I'm sorry about that.
I was just gonna cut us off. So I mean, if you got any final thoughts, you can
well,
say it
now. Reach for your dreams, set goals for yourself. And while that may not be, what you define as success, put yourself out there, like Josh said. Even if lounging around on your couch, being able to do that is successful for you. Just whatever you do, set a goal, keep moving forward, and try to achieve that.
And we support you.
Oh my god. All right. Anyways, like always, I will remind you guys, don't forget to like this video, comment any topics that you would like us to talk about. We would really like you guys to, give us some input, and we would read the comments. We would welcome that, and criticisms. I think we've already, outlined that you can't be successful without failing, and I think there are many things that we can improve on, but we can't do that. Just can't come from our viewpoint. It has to be from you guys. So comment anything, topics, criticisms, whatever. Let's get interactive. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. And until next time, this is Squad's Night In.